Ethan Marshall had survived his first failure. He had built a foundation with his second attempt, but the city, vast and indifferent, was only the beginning. Now the horizon stretched wider, bigger challenges, bigger stakes, bigger opportunities, and for the first time, Ethan felt the weight of potential fame. Ethan's work with local businesses had created measurable success. Revenue charts, client testimonials, and a growing portfolio gave him credibility. One afternoon, he received an email that made his hands tremble. A regional investor, someone with connections to national retail chains, wanted to meet. They arranged a meeting in a sleek downtown office. Ethan felt small walking through the glass doors, past polished floors and leather chairs. "Mr. Marshall," the investor said, shaking his head, "I've been following your progress. We're interested in scaling your service nationwide, but I need you to know, are you ready?" Ethan swallowed hard. "Yes, I am." Inside, he felt a mixture of fear and excitement. The city had been a challenge, but the nation would be a battlefield. Ethan returned to his apartment and spread out his notebooks, maps of cities, lists of potential clients, market research spreadsheets. He realized scaling nationally required structure, delegation, and strategy, things he had learned painfully in his first failure. He hired managers for each new city. He created digital templates for marketing campaigns. He streamlined communication. Every decision felt monumental. It was the first time he truly felt like a CEO. Local success stories began attracting media attention. Regional newspapers published stories titled "Small Town Kid Helps Small Businesses Thrive." Business podcasts interviewed him. His story of failure, perseverance, and growth became compelling content. Ethan realized something crucial. Narrative was as powerful as product. He began carefully crafting his message: humble beginnings, lessons from failure, relentless persistence. The public loved it. Viewership skyrocketed. Small investors began sending inquiries. Expansion brought new pressures. Emails, calls, and client issues multiplied exponentially. Errors in one city threatened reputation nationwide. Employees needed oversight. Deadlines loomed constantly. Sleep became a luxury. Meals were often skipped. Stress manifested in headaches and tension that never fully dissipated. Yet Ethan thrived. He reminded himself, "Pressure reveals character, and I am ready." A national retail chain, impressed by Ethan's track record, offered a pilot partnership. If successful, it could propel his company into every major city in the country. The stakes were immense. Failure would not just affect revenue, it could destroy reputation, credibility, and morale. He prepared meticulously: market research, customized campaigns, client onboarding processes, analytics tracking. Every detail mattered. Every misstep could be catastrophic. The pilot launched. For 2 weeks, Ethan and his team monitored results obsessively. Conversions increased, foot traffic soared, customer satisfaction skyrocketed. Success was no longer small, it was tangible, measurable, and national. Success drew attention, not all positive. Employees who had grown complacent, jealous colleagues, and opportunistic partners began plotting some acts of sabotage. Emails went unanswered, reports were delayed, minor errors compounded into crisis. Ethan realized leadership wasn't just about growth, it was about control, trust, and vigilance. He held emergency meetings, addressed issues directly, replaced underperforming staff, strengthened company culture. Every decision tested him, but the company survived stronger than before. National expansion required sacrifices Ethan had not anticipated. Friendships became distant, family visits rare. His mother, Clara, called often, worried. Ethan promised he would visit soon, but each day work consumed him. He ate fast food instead of meals, stayed up late into the night reviewing analytics. Every waking moment was filled with growth, problem solving, and crisis management. But he reminded himself constantly, this is temporary. The payoff will last a lifetime. Just a momentum build. A mistake threatened everything. A client's campaign malfunctioned, resulting in negative publicity for a chain of stores. Bloggers criticized the platform. Social media erupted. Investors questioned reliability. Ethan felt panic for the first time since his first failed startup. Months of work were at risk of crumbling overnight. He worked around the clock, personally reaching out to clients, fixing errors, and managing PR. The scandal, while damaging initially, was mitigated through transparency, accountability, and decisive action. Ethan learned another hard lesson. Even success is fragile. Within months, the national pilot transformed into full rollout. Stores across multiple states adopted Ethan's platform. Revenue skyrocketed. Employee base expanded. National media covered the story. From doubters, classmates, colleagues, and even critics took notice. Ethan's story of persistence over mockery became inspirational nationwide. Award ceremonies, interviews, and panels followed. Ethan received accolades for innovation, entrepreneurship, and leadership. Billboards in major cities now displayed his name, not just a small town boy with impossible dreams, but a national figure. Even critics nodded grudgingly. Persistence, strategy, and courage had created something undeniable. Despite the accolades, Ethan wrestled with personal doubts. Had he sacrificed too much? Could he maintain growth without losing himself? Would this success ever feel normal, or would it always feel like surviving chaos? He realized ambition is a double edged sword. It can elevate, but it can also isolate. Yet, he found solace in the small victories, calls from grateful clients, thank you emails from employees inspired by his leadership, smiles from people who had once laughed at him. Every message reminded him the journey mattered as much the outcome. Late one night, overlooking a city skyline that had once seemed intimidating, Ethan whispered to himself, I have climbed mountains, survived storms, and learned from failure. I will continue, I will grow, and I will make sure no dream, no matter how impossible, goes unheard. He opened his notebook. Pages were filled with ideas for the next national project. The fire that had once been almost extinguished now roared. Ethan Marshall was no longer a small town boy laughed at by his peers. He was a national entrepreneur, a symbol of persistence, and a testament to what relentless ambition can achieve. And even as the city slept below, he knew the journey was far from over. Success, Ethan Marshall learned, was a double edged sword. The higher you climb, the more exposed you become. And sometimes the danger comes not from rivals or the world outside, but from the people you trust most. It started subtly, a missed report here, a delayed project there, emails that didn't add up. At first, Ethan blamed the chaos of rapid national expansion. After all, managing multiple cities, dozens of employees, and hundreds of clients was overwhelming. Mistakes were inevitable, but a gut feeling told him something was wrong. It was a nagging sense, quiet at first, then louder with each passing day. Late one night, Ethan stayed in the office long after everyone had left. He reviewed internal communications and financial statements. Patterns emerged, irregular transfers, strange client complaints, and confidential documents circulating externally. A chilling realization hit him. Someone inside the company was betraying him. It was no small error, it was deliberate sabotage, threatening to undo everything he had built. Ethan called a meeting with key managers. He observed them closely. Subtle gestures, nervous laughter, defensiveness. One senior manager in particular seemed off. Lucas Brand, responsible for operations in three major cities, had always been ambitious, a little too smooth, and far too interested in investor communications. Ethan decided to investigate quietly. He monitored emails, phone calls, and financial activity. It became undeniable. Lucas had been leaking strategic information to a competitor in exchange for personal gain. Ethan didn't act impulsively. He prepared meticulously. When Lucas arrived at the office for a routine meeting, Ethan had gathered evidence, screenshots, emails, and transaction records. Lucas, Ethan began calmly, we need to talk about loyalty and when it means to betray the people who trusted you. Lucas laughed nervously, trying to play it off. Ethan laid out everything, every transaction, every leaked document, every meeting. The room went silent. Lucas's face had crumbled. I needed money, he stammered. I thought I could handle it without anyone noticing. Ethan stared at him. Anger surged, but so did clarity. He had survived mockery, homelessness, and national scrutiny. He would not let betrayal destroy his company. The betrayal had consequences. Clients were informed discreetly, contracts reviewed, security protocols tightened. Lucas was terminated immediately. Ethan worked around the clock to rebuild trust with affected clients. He personally called each one, explaining the situation and assuring them of strict measures to prevent future breaches. Media inquiries were handled delicately. Transparency became his armor, and slowly, confidence returned. Betrayal hurt deeper than any failure. It shook Ethan's faith in people. It reminded him that success breeds envy, and envy breeds deception. He spent nights reflecting on the human side of leadership. Trust is fragile. Power attracts opportunists. Even allies can falter under temptation. Sleep was scarce, meals were forgotten. Every waking movement involved strategy, communication, and vigilance. But Ethan refused to collapse under pressure. Ethan realized that leadership required more than vision, it required culture. He began hiring with greater scrutiny, implemented stricter background checks, created internal communication protocols. Team building exercises were introduced, workshops on ethics, loyalty, and accountability became mandatory. He invested in people, not just talent, but character. The company became more resilient than ever. Ethan learned crisis reveal the bones of an organization. Strong bones survive storms. Ethan turned the betrayal into a teaching moment. He shared lessons openly with remaining employees. Never take loyalty for granted. Systems must be stronger than individuals. Transparency builds trust. Vigilance protects growth. The team respected him more. Clients noticed the integrity. Even competitors observed how calmly and decisively Ethan handled the crisis. Ethan understood true leadership isn't just about growth, it's about weathering storms without losing your soul. Months after the crisis, the company not only recovered but thrived. New clients signed on, revenue increased, employee morale improved. Ethan reflected on how betrayal had tested him in ways failure never could. He realized success is never linear. It is a series of battles, some external, some internal. In surviving betrayal, that was a victory few ever experienced. One evening, looking out over the city skyline, Ethan thought of Willow Creek, the town that once laughed at him. He thought of his mother, Clara, who had always believed in him quietly. He thought of the first failed startup, the shelter, the endless nights of doubt, and he realized something profound. Every scar, every betrayal, every mistake had been preparation. Without them, he would not be ready for national attention. Without them, he would not appreciate the magnitude of persistence. Ethan whispered softly, almost like a mantra, I will not let the world break me. I will not let betrayal stop me. I will lead, I will innovate, and I will create something that endures. He closed his laptop, walked to the rooftop, and let the city lights remind him. Challenges are infinite, but so is human resilience. Ethan's second startup had survived internal sabotage, external competition, and rapid expansion. But the journey was far from over. The next step, national dominance, scaling beyond familiar territories, and facing challenges that no preparation could fully predict. One thing was certain: the boy who once cried in his bedroom over ridicule was now a man who stared down betrayal and won, and the world would see him rise even higher.